Good afternoon to you.
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, good. How are you?
Alrighty, just gonna try to find a spot in this venue.
That's okay. Where are you coming to me from?
Well, we're in Seattle.
Nice. How's the
Yeah,
tour going?
fucking nightmare.
What makes
Three,
it a nightmare? The COVID bubble?
no, no, four tour buses broke down. We've had to rent U-Hauls, Penske trucks, fly, take trains, take Ubers, rent cars to make all the shows happen. So it's been a joke.
Sounds
So
like a lot of fun, but at least you have a brilliant album coming out in like 2 weeks.
I know it's so funny. It's like it's so much has been happening with like the day to day, and so when you don't even have a second to sit back and be like, "Oh shit, this record we worked on for a year of our life is now finally coming out." So
Exactly. And
yeah.
you first came on my radar playing Good Things in 2019
Oh wow.
out here. So like hadn't heard of the band before that, watched you do your set and then go and meet your fans. And I remember saying to my wife, because we were covering it for the magazine, I was just like,
Yeah.
the way these guys treat their fans and the way they present themselves on stage, they're my kind of band. And
Thank you. Yeah.
and it,
I've always truly believed it's like I feel like the music business forgets the only thing that matters is the fans and the music. Everything else is just complete bullshit. It's like, yes, there's a lot of planning, there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes, but if everyone just doesn't look at the fans are what runs this business, and that's the only way people get to enjoy their lives and travel the world and really have a career is because these fans are showing up or buying records or whatever they're doing on just even listening to the music on Spotify. Like all those little things add up, and it's because of the fans that make a band who they are. So
yeah, and it just shows in the commitment because you guys could easily right now with what you're going through go, oh, we're going home, and you're
exactly.
not, and you're not.
Yep.
You're doing exactly what you did that day at Good Things, which was we're off stage, we're going to go greet, we're going to go meet, we're going to meet the people that pay our bills. And
Exactly.
I love the fact that you've hit adversity and just put a middle finger up and just kept going.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. I think I think for the longest time, I think rock music's has had a hard time recently, but now I think, or not recently, but over the past years when we were starting as a band, it was like everyone was saying, "Don't do rock. It's not, it's passe now. It's not really working. Change the genre, follow the trends." But it's so nice to see there's so many artists out there that are like kind of champion and leading forward, and radio's finally playing more guitar driven pop songs, and it's a good sign, And I think the core of culture has always been so important for music, and that was you date it back to 50s and 60s rock music. It was culture, and I think if you continue to always have that instilled into the identity of who you are as a band and as artists, and just understand waking up every day you're thankful that you get to do this, is that's all what it is.
True. So like the album, it's brilliant. It's
Thank you.
absolutely brilliant. There is so many different twists and turns in it, which I quite like.
Yeah,
You can't pigeonhole it, but let's say the title track. I think last night I probably listened to that 10 times alone,
I love
and
that.
to me it's Queen meets My Chemical Romance, but
Mhm.
100% Palaye Royale. So
Appreciate that.
that had to have been a bit of a long journey to finish that song. Like it doesn't
Yeah,
seem like
no,
it just was like written yesterday.
it's funny. So when the verse and the pre-chorus of Fever Dream, we've always had. When we were writing side A and side B for the first album, we were writing that in like 2014 to 2015. It was actually a connected piece. Like we had an interlude part that went from "You'll Be Fine" actually into what Fever Dream is, and it was like this even longer than what Fever Dream is. It was like a 10-minute journey of a thing, but we just couldn't write a chorus for it. So we never put it on side A and side B. And I think, going to it's 100% Palaye is, we obviously have, there's a huge nod to, bands we truly love and enjoy. But I think when that chorus came, that was when the identity of all that kind of melded together. But when we were making the first album, we were just trying to do something that we wanted to do. And we had all the infinite amount of time in the world making our first album. And then COVID happened, and it allowed for us to kind of get back to that headspace and not feel like we were rushed to fly home from tour for a couple of days, record, and compile a bunch of music over a year and put it together and make an album. And that's what we kind of did with the Bastards, which I think the end result was pretty good. But I think there was Fever Dream. We take lyrical content from each individual song, and there's a thread going amongst everything. And I think sonically, everything's in tune with one another. The pianos are very much, it's the same piano we were recording on the whole entire time. We were set up at Remington's house, and we did a few writing trips with our producer Chris Greatti when we went to Malibu, and it was just like an extraordinary time, and we really felt like we got back to becoming the band we wanted to be from the first album. But we just have 7 years of touring under our belts, so we've been able to there's a lot more things that we're like, what's going to be better for live, and because live is such a huge importance of our band. So trying to deliver a sonic pleasurable album, but also still have the angst in some of the songs is so important to us. So
yeah, and the songs sort of give off a lot of colors throughout them. So I'm gonna pick your brain and say, if you were to pick one color to describe the album, what would it be and why?
It's funny. So when it's going to go on a little tangent, but when I feel like that's a perfect way of saying it's so colorful, and that was the inlay artwork that Emerson did for the album. Basically just looks like a Renaissance painting. It's he took a lot of pieces but melded. There's so many muted tones and crushed, all these crushed tones that just work so well. But I think for embodying the whole entire album as Fever Dream, I think it's a black and white, and then you dream in black, as people, or at least they say, you dream in black and white, and they don't know if you actually dream in color. But I think that was what the importance was. And it was funny enough, the album cover was black and white when we took the photos, and then you open it and it's this colorful thing. So it's kind of, I think, you said one color, but I think black and white is, or like a grayscale type of thing. So
cool. Yeah, and you mentioned Chris, your producer. So for me, listening to the album and then going back and listening to the previous albums, he seems to have injected a lot more life into the band, more the vibe than the music. He's almost stripped you guys back to your core essence and then built from there. Would you agree?
Without a doubt. Me and my brothers despised one another when we were 2019. It was really actually when we were in Australia. We did Australia and Japan for the first time. I think that was the first time we did. But it was when we were 2019, we were doing Australia. We went to Japan, and we just came off the Marilyn Manson tour, and the band was very much self-imploding. And the Bastards album was, ready, finishing up, and we went on the Bastards World Tour before COVID hit, and we were not pleasant with one another. Fist fights, bickering all the time. We couldn't be in the same room. We couldn't stand one another. We would get off stage playing to 2,000 people in London and just be so mad at each other. And it was a really strange thing. So when we started working with Chris, we had a really great friendship with Chris before we started working with him. We did Fuck With My Head on the Bastards with him and Nervous Breakdown, but we really didn't anything else after that. And the first session we did was, I think it was actually Broken was the first song we did for the album before we went on the writing trip. And he's like, guys, I'm not going to spend my time working with you guys if you can't talk to each other with some respect. So, going to what you're saying about how he really stripped us back to who we were, he allowed us to all shine as not being like Remington's the singer and it's only his voice and that's all that matters. He was like, Emerson, you're, savant of a piano player. Let's introduce that into the band because that's such an important element. Sebastian, that you play guitar with a bunch of reverb on and a lot of great tones, but you're not like a shredder or this, that. Let's just embody that. And I'm like, great, thank you. Finally, you're putting all together the best of all three of us. And I think that's why it makes it so unique of an album, because it's not just one individual and a producer making an album. So
yeah, it's funny you say that because I listen to this album and I see the piano as the skeleton of the album.
Yep. Yeah.
The guitar is the muscle and the voice is the blood.
I really love that. That's a beautiful way of putting it. Yeah. No, I feel like this is the first time too, the world, we put out some singles and stuff for this album, or we've got quite a few singles for this album thus far, but I feel like we just didn't say these were the songs, these are the singles and the album's going to come out and the rest is kind of rubbish. It's the record is I feel like the next 6 or 7 songs that the fans are going to get from this is just even more. They're going to be like, wow, the band's evolved incredibly more, like Off the Head and Eternal Life and Oblivion, and Line It Up, like such well-crafted pieces of music, but with such honesty behind it, and not being like, we need to write a pop song, we need to write a hit, we need to write a hit piece. You know, that's always the thing that everyone says at the label or management for every and all bands, because it's a business at the end of it. But I think we're doing something completely genuine that I think I'm going to go look back on, or I actually know in like 15 years time, 20 years time, I'm going to look back and be so incredibly proud of what we created. And I know that this is going to be such a huge staple of a piece of music, as well as a timestamp in our career, to be like, that was when the band really took off. And, you know, we're touring in Europe and we're finally doing arenas. Like it's amazing. All the tickets are selling so crazy over there. You know, we're venturing into South America. We're going to be touring a lot more in Asia and Australia. The band's becoming on a more of a universal level versus just, you know, in a van traveling across America for the 900th time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
And I need to tell everyone, because we're still 2 weeks away. So the best way I can describe it is Fever Dream is a record, not a collection of singles.
I really appreciate that. Thank you. We did our job then.
It reminds me of the 70s albums I love, where you had to be hard pressed to find filler, rather than now you make a playlist out of the songs you like, rather than listen to an album front to back.
Exactly. And I think that's all what it comes down to. It's like Emerson's so, you know, he's so invested into the story that's even deeper with Palaye Royale that our fans are in, with the graphic novels that he designs and the artwork, and, you know, all of, from the makeup to the fashion and everything that we create to make this universe, and kind of like this escapism that we can have for the fans and as well as for us. And I think it's just kind of like, it is, you know, it is the foundation of everything, and the foundation's even becoming stronger and stronger each record. And I just really like, I'm just so proud of it. You know, it's one, you know, I know it's everyone always says this is our best album yet, you know, but I really truly believe this is our best album yet. And it's going to be, it's always going to hold a special place in our heart, because this is what has kept the band together, you know? So. Yeah.
And like the song Eternal Life, got some pretty wicked twists and turns in it. How'd that one come about?
So I've been playing the original riff, like, so we have the intro part, which is the acoustic part that came after the fact, but the main riff of it, I was playing on piano all the time. And I remember Chris came over to my house way before we were making the record, like a year before, and he was like, we were fucked up and I was just playing piano. And he's like, wait, you play piano? I'm like, yeah, we all do. And he's like, I didn't realize that. He's like, I just thought you guys were just like rock and roll band, just do your thing. He's like, someone needs to record that. And he made a voice recording of me playing the melody line. And then when we went back on our writing trip to Malibu, we had a Mellotron, and I kept on writing it on strings. And it kind of sounded like a little bit like Kashmir at first by Zeppelin. And obviously we love Zeppelin and everything, but it's like, you don't want to rip too much off of a band, or, you know, take too much of a sonic thing. So we kind of went down this rabbit hole of just creating this thing. And I would just love how the song kind of has such, like, you know, if you rip out 2 minutes of that song, it's a great, like, heavy rock song. Yep. But then there's like the front and the tail end of the record of that song that just makes it so special, because you don't know where you're going to go. It goes this heavy riff, and then the end of it, you're like, it goes in that kind of Nirvana-esque, like, you know, vocals with like the, you know, reverbed out guitars, and it fades out. And the beginning is like, you know, very, very nod at like a 60s, 70s, like rock record of the acoustic intro. But it's I've listened to it at least, you know, over 100 times while mixing and mastering this record, and, you know, getting notes. And every time I'm like, oh shit, that's cool. Like all these little things. And you know, it's a lot to do with Chris, because he's such a mad scientist and a musician as well, that he's like, we'll go off on these tangents because we just are all over the place, and he just allows us to go there, and then he, you know, help refine it and be like, that's sick, let's like keep on evolving on that. So,
and then you've got No Love in LA, which for me, it's been a little while since I've been in LA, but it tells the story of substance over heart, straight up. What's LA for you in 2022?
It's funny. So we writing that song basically in 2020, I think. It was 2020. We wrote it in August, and when we were in Malibu, and I sent it was funny. It's so many instruments that like would have not really been a Palaye Royale standard, but a Palaye Royale standard to us, but like to the general public, not so much. And I was playing the Mellotron, right? The first day we got the Mellotron, I was playing these things. And I sent Remington a voice memo, and he got the voice memo. And I kid you not, in like 5 minutes, he texts me the whole entire chorus lyrics. Like, there's no such thing as love in LA. Like, it was just so quick. And we sent it to Chris, and he's like, this sounds like one of the first singles. Let's go. And we're just being completely honest. We've lived in LA for a decade, or touring for so long out of it, but we have just seen it eat up people and spit people out, because there's literally no one gives a shit for you there. And when you find your select few friends, it's really special in LA. And I think that's a real important thing that we found even during COVID. You're selected to only hang out with so many people, and we found some incredible souls and individuals. But definitely the process of us being there, it's like, how do people get to the next step? How do they, it's people, they step all over you, and they use you as stepping stones, and what can you do for me? And I just really feel like lyrically it just kind of depicts the fakeness that it holds. So
sure. So we're running limited on time. You're a busy guy. You've probably got to go and change a flat tire and a trailer now, knowing your life.
I'm actually the tour manager now. So I've over the past 20 days, I've been booking flights and hotel rooms and getting settlements from the venues and everything. And so it's like, my job doesn't start and end with the music, which I wish it could at some point. But right now it's like I have to step up and just fucking take initiative. So
king of the per diem.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So you said there's a possibility we're going to see you. Is there plans in the works?
Yeah, there is. So all of 23, I want my main goal is to treat the world with the love and respect that we have treated America with for the first 5 years of our touring, and kind of not say goodbye to America. We're always going to come back. But there's so much world, there's so many fans, there's so many people that are so grateful when we show up, and we just want to do all the travels, enjoy the culture, see the fans. And honestly, it's like, we showed up to Budapest on our first show, and it was arms wide open. Our second time in Prague, we played our first arena ever as a band. It's like, the world's so much bigger than I think the music business sets it out to be, or even, the world in general. America, or at least Americans, always believe that America is the epicenter of the world. And it's like, yeah, the American dream is always a thing, but I think the world is so precious, and there's so much culture and true love and appreciation for the arts around the world. And so we just want to go and do all we can to travel. So Australia is definitely on the books for next year. So
awesome, man. I've got to say congrats on the album. It's just
thank you so much.
Brilliant. It's so good.
Thank you so much.
I cannot wait to see you again. Like I said, you're on a tiny little stage at Good Things at 2019, and you just slayed. So let's get you on a bigger stage.
Absolutely. I appreciate
awesome,
that.
Man. Congrats, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you so much for the interview. Have a good rest of your day.